Oh. Oh. What a way to start a late summer day. Ooga booga.
I am James ALOFS. I left the big city to build an off-grid homestead on 40 acres of Canadian wilderness. This area of Ontario has giant ridgelines, deep valleys, and pure rivers. Black bears, gray wolves, mountain lions, moose, and many forest spirits share the land. I started in November 2023. Starting with a modest 12 by 16 foot guest cabin, my goal is to build such a glorious homestead that I attract a magnificent wife, have 10 babies, and raise an Irish wolfhound. Welcome to Wild Homestead.
Wow, so the multi-tool is much faster than the chisel. I was trying out both, but with the multi-tool, if you cut on this end and then cut down from the top as far as you can, cut up from the bottom, meet somewhere in the middle, boom, the thing will just pop out. It's much quicker. I can't tell you how impressed I am with this multi-tool. There we go. Oh, yes. Nice fit. I don't think the end of these gaps are big enough to put in oakum, so I'm just going to use the Henkel window door and sill sealant up here. Tool can't quite get rid of this trim.
We're gonna need a bigger boat. Sharks in the water. Cages in the water. You're in the water.
There we go. Is this too big? You have to trim it. So I had a little chunk of cedar 1x, and I'm like, you know what? I might as well put a second layer on top of these 2x6 chunks that I used to fill this in. Oh, heck yeah. Heck yes. Heck yes, man. Hey guys, we got 4 blocks of cedar, including the triangle piece up in there. It's all mechanically sealed in, blocked in. This one screw, I need to figure out a way to finish sinking it tomorrow, and then just use the caulking up there. I've decided with the remaining frames, you know how on the back sleeping loft window over there, we built, basically boxed it in on the top and the sides. These covering up the sides and the top, I'm gonna wait until next spring. I think, you know, if there's any squirrels or rodents that start to get in there, I should be able to notice it because I'm gonna be here all winter. So I'd rather let it settle more, kind of finish the 80% of the settling that's gonna go on. You know, by next spring, we should be ready to rock and roll. So I think it's gonna be better because otherwise you're just gonna have to redo the work. So I think I'm going to leave the rest of the windows just like this. And then, you know, in the spring, just cap them off with that scribed, those scribed boards to seal them off forever. Look at that, man. He's a smaller guy. The first fish I caught, he actually flopped back into the water right out of the net. You can believe it, but just such, whoa! They're just such beautiful fish. The coloration on the fins, absolutely beautiful. So we're gonna do, oh, look at his tail. You know, we've seen mergansers hunting in this creek before. Hello, Mr. Beaver. Good morning. How you doing, buddy? Hey, hey, hey. Dang, guys, look at this, man. Now that is a beaver slide. You see it goes up into these, I believe these are all tag alders and maybe some mountain ash. This down here, he slides down. This is what they call an oxbow lake or an oxbow pond. This is, the river is just on the other side of that bank. But the river used to flow over here, but it's changing direction, slowly changes directions over time. And now it flows over there, and this got disconnected. You can see the beavers, man, just sliding right down here. Dude. What? Oh. Whoa. Dudes. Look at this. Oh my God. One of the teeth just fell out of the bottom. But, this thing absolutely stinks. Well, you saw that we saw the beaver just in the river over there. So, dude, I think I'm going to put this back down. I'm going to come back for it because I'm going to get some kind of weird bubonic plague. Just hold it away from my mouth. Dude, look at that. Look at the teeth. I'm going to have to boil this for many hours to get all the, there's probably like dead, like brain stuff in there. Look at that, the brain cavity. How cool is that? A sign from the gods. Oh, just gonna put him down. I'm gonna put him down right here. I'm gonna come back. Oh, it just comes right off the ribs. Oh my God. Guys, that is amazing. Oh my goodness. No ketchup needed. As if pike is here, pike is good. And bass are here, trout is like up there. This is so good. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. That is so good. Good morning, folks. Just got back from town. And one of the things we got was this little DeWalt. It's like a snaking drill tool. So hopefully this will let us sink that screw that's kind of way up in the apex on the cabin that we were having trouble sinking yesterday. My right angle attachment also was not working, but I saw this in the hardware store. This was usually $40, but it was on sale for $19. And of course, we also got the wood stove, United States Stove Company, made in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. The smallest airtight wood stove that I could find. I was looking at some like tiny stoves. There's a number of custom manufacturers on the interwebs in Canada, the United States. And the problem with those tiny stoves is that they're kind of more appropriate for the size of the cabin that we have. Because, you know, it's only 12 by 16 feet. Even with the 2 levels, that's only around like 400 square feet. Right? So you don't need a very big stove, but this is the smallest airtight stove I could find that also accepts normal sized logs, like logs up to 18 inches in length. So I think we're going to try this guy. It's for 1,200 square feet. So this is more than 3 times than what we really need. But if we ever put an addition onto the cabin, that's going to be extra space. And I think it's better to have a little bit more heat than not enough. And then, you know, the other option would be to go with the wood stove we already have that I've been using in the hot tent. But the problem with that is it's not an airtight stove. And that stove, if you look at the manufacturer's website, if you tweak it and have the air intake and the damper really dialed in, it'll burn for at most 3 or 4 hours. This wood stove by the United States Stove Company and most like airtight stoves, they can burn, if you tweak it properly, 7 to 8 hours. So all through the night. So that's the big difference. The great and powerful Thor's red oak, now taller than me, his keeper. Some of the trees are starting to change colors, but not Thor's red oak. Going strong. Supermarket was sold out of berries and cherries, but just your standard caveman diet of flank steaks, raspberries,
maple syrup, ketchup, and café infusé à froid noir, corsé intense à torréfaction foncée.
All sandwiched up with oakum and silicone caulking and the cedar boards.
Oh boy, that log is going to need quite a bit of cutting, my goodness. Nice little spot for a mid-afternoon nap on a hot day. A man, as they say. Cool, cool, cool. Muchachos, hey cabron. It's so hot that my iPhone keeps on shutting down. I'm like, why does my phone keep turning off? But this is how hot it is. Also, my Anchor unit is not charging from the sun, and it's not powering up my Milwaukee batteries. And my only hypothesis is that it's too hot. So here we are, folks. South window. It's pretty nice. The only problem, I didn't quite trim down the log behind on this one enough. Juts out a little bit there. It's fine on that end, but a little bit off there. I think the rest of the corners are good though. Yep. And then again, we got a treat with our special waterproofing agent that is on delivery. Oh my goodness. I just realized it's so you can look all the way up the path to Thor's Red Oak through the two windows. How cool is that, man? Sweet. Oh, drinking the coffee in the fall with the fire going, looking up there, and then looking out to the big ridge line. Dang, man. We're gonna need a bigger boat. More like we're gonna need a bigger chainsaw. Woo-wee, man, chainsaws are heavy. So the story behind this, folks, is right before I was cutting out this door again, I had a neighbor over and he was just looking at my windows and he's like, my golly, he's like, those are huge gaps over the window. And I explained why. It's the shrinkage of the cabin. And I don't think this guy had ever built a cabin with logs before, but you know, he was experienced in construction. And he's like, I don't think you need gaps that big. He's like, probably a half inch or an inch should be fine. He's like, if it's shrinking a half inch per foot of wall height, you know, a half inch should be fine. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So when I went into putting this door, I was kind of in that mindset. I'm like, man, yeah, like I'll put it in an inch. I just had an inch up here. I just expanded it to 3 inches. But it's like, wait a minute, man. We got 8 feet of wall up to here. There could be up to 4 inches of shrinkage. Now, I think probably 50% of the shrinkage and compression has already happened because we started building these walls almost 10 months ago, right? And these trees were cut like basically 10 months ago. So there's already been some drying and shrinkage. But basically, I'm like, no, you know what? In theory, the wall could shrink down. I think at this point, up to probably 2 inches. So having 3 inches of gap, I think, is safest. 1 inch of gap would be leaving it pretty close. Sunny, 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 sunny. Oh, yeah. Fire bricks. Very cool. Whoa. What's going on?
So guys, this guy is very top heavy. I think it's gonna roll. There's one particular section of the trail that's very uneven. There's kind of an S turn there. Most of the trail is actually pretty flat. I think we'll be fine, but there's that one section. We gotta go fill it in right now. Even though we haven't finished widening, the trail, the work that Alexander, Nick, and I had started here on just the front little part of the trail, now is not the time to finish that work, but I think we need to even out that one section where it's super undulating and bumpy, because this thing is gonna flip, man. You see guys, it's here, this side, that's pretty chunky. This is the section. Can you see that? It's like super sketchy. Yeah, so it's this section here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but you come up here and this is a super big, like this is very difficult for even me to stay on the ATV, let alone this 250-pound stove. But it's really wonky through this S curve here. We're gonna have to
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby. Hell yeah.
That's a nice divot there. Nice. That was a big just up and down divot right there. Other than that up and down divot, there was the 3 other spots that we filled. Those are the 3 spots, after going back and forth on my ATV a few times up and down the trail, I'm like, geez,
this top heavy, 250 pound stove on the pallet, the cart could actually, it would be very likely it's going to flip over. This one too, this one's pretty big. Probably not going to flip it, but while we're at it, we might as well do this one.
Oops.
Moment of truth. If this thing falls over and the window cracks or the legs bend or anything, we're in serious doo-doo. Can you imagine trying to get this thing back to the store? I don't even know if you can get replacement parts for these things. So pray to all the gods, Christian God. Thor, what day is it today? It's Tuesday. It's Tears Day. God of justice and war. Oh, Tyr, please help us get this stove back.
Heck yeah, man. Tight, tight, tight. All the way around. No sunshine coming through these gaskets. Heck yes. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. Heck yes. Nice, oh yeah. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark, and it is the window trim. So I just brought back this 1x lumber, which I'm going to be using to I'm going to be cutting them in half and putting them up and down over these cracks. And I'm just thinking, like, there's something weird. I think it's fine on the windows, but there's something weird on this little window with the 2x lumber. It's just, it looks clunky. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. And I think it would be nice, you know, the lumber that we're using as the trim over this also uses the trim around the window, kind of goes together. So while this caulking is still wet, I'm going to pop these boards off. Thankfully, I only sunk 4 screws in each board. Dudes and dudettes, I think it looks better. I think it looks better with the 1x trim than the 2x trim. It was just too overpowering for the door. Like, it was too clunky looking. But we got ourselves a winter-proof door. The thing's all sealed up, at least in the interior of the frame, right? So we've got the ribbing, the weatherproof sealing all the way around. We've got the sill plate that is upward sloping so that, you know, any moisture or snow or anything is going to have a hard time because it'll have to travel up. But then also put on this guard down here, which is probably redundant, but in between all the cracks, we got a bead of silicone. And then we've got these are essentially like 1x2s that I cut, because the 1x2s in the store, they're glued together. They're not very nice. So I bought like 1x6s and I cut them in half and then just tacked them in here. So this is like a mechanical barrier, and then you got the chemical barrier with the silicone bead in between there. So this is weatherproof, folks. Still got to do the insulation on the interior of the window here, but you know, the insulation on the interior of the door itself, that's something that's not urgent. We can do that anytime. Like, we can do that in November, we can do that in December. My plan is sheep's wool to basically frame out the interior. Sheep's wool, put a layer of poly, and then put tongue and groove, I think like pine 2x6s up and down.
covering it up. So that's the plan, but it's not urgent at all. We have to do other things first before we do that. So I just finished reading Eaters of the Dead by Michael Crichton for like the third time. And what's crazy is that it is a true story, and it is possibly about Vikings battling Neanderthals, which sounds completely unbelievable. But, the story is actually it's a real manuscript written by this guy named Ibn Fadlan in the 900s AD, I believe. He's sent by Islamic Caliph at that time from the capital city of Baghdad to the north to treat with like the Bulgars or some Slavic, northern tribe. And on the way, he ends up getting basically tangled up with this group of Vikings, and they're on a mission to go save this kingdom that's being assaulted by these unknown human-like creatures. This guy has no choice. He gets looped into this, and he goes north with these Vikings. Michael Crichton, in the epilogue of the story, talks about, many anthropologists have looked at this story and these descriptions of these human-like creatures that Ibn Fadlan is making. And what all the anthropologists say is like, listen, this guy is, what he's describing sounds anatomically and behaviorally exactly like Neanderthals. Anthropologists are like, you know what? It's improbable, but it is possible because, I guess most records have Neanderthals kind of going extinct somewhere between 20 and 40,000 years ago. But if you think about woolly mammoths, were thought to have basically broadly gone extinct at the end of the last ice age 10,000 years ago. But they have found remains of woolly mammoths on remote Siberian islands that looks like they only died out maybe 3,000 years ago. There were pockets of woolly mammoths that basically hung on, even though the general population started its demise much earlier. So these creatures that he describes in the story, which is wild, you got to read it. The movie with Antonio Banderas is okay. You should still watch that too. It's worth a watch. It's good. It's entertaining. But it's crazy to think that it's not impossible. It's like improbable, but not impossible that this real life story. Now, Michael Crichton, he kind of invented the last 10% of the story because the manuscript basically abruptly ends and it's lost to time. So they don't know what happened in the end. But 90% of the story is real. And what it looks like is it's a story about Vikings battling Neanderthals. You gotta read this story, Eaters of the Dead. It is absolutely wild. Oh my goodness. I found him right near the door. I'm like, buddy, what are you doing? He's even got some sawdust on top of him. Like, dude, let's get you into the forest. Let's get you into a better spot. So guys, the door is pretty much done for now. We got the sacrificial gap all covered up, caulked up, beautiful flashed up. And we got the sides all caulked up as well. And before putting on the trim for the winter, and again, the strategy is just to put on the trim, but the end casings, you know, scribed to the logs, we're gonna wait to the spring to do that. But this should be weatherproof like it is. And gonna stain the door once our magical stain comes in, and then put on the trim. Okay, we're starting the bracket game on the inside instead of the outside, because on this gable end, the rafter is slightly towards the outside. On the other one, it's slightly towards the inside, so it made sense to do the brackets on the outside over there and on the inside over here. We are going to cover it up with some wood trim at some point. You know, there's a bunch of flies in here. I think it's like in this hot heat, they like it cool. So we're gonna open this guy up. I took the bug screen off, and we're gonna open up the one over here. So we're looking good over here. We got it all bracketed up, but we got a few little holes. 1, 2, 3, where the gaps were a little bit too big for the oakum to fill her up. So we're just gonna spurt some little caulking in there for now. Yeah, like I said in the last episode, I think the greatest weakness of the button pass with, you know, totally unmilled logs is the gable ends, because they're round logs on round logs, and they're not really interlinked in any way other than the bolts, you know, and there's lots of bolts, but this, I highly recommend using these metal brackets. Okay. That one's a little tough because there's a bracket. You see these hurricane ties right there. The hurricane tie in that rafter happens to be on the outside because I couldn't fit it on the inside due to the gable end here. So it kind of is screwing with the plan of having these boards wedged in there. So I think I can still seal that one up as is. And it's going to be, I'm going to have to cut it if I want to get it out. So I think I'm going to try on the second normal one beside it and see if this method of, you know, getting basically a very snug board and then jamming it in there is going to work for the rest of them.
Okay. That's basically what I was looking for. There's variation on each one of these rafters here, right? They're twisting and turning in all their own ways. But that's nice and snug. We can fill that any gaps with caulking. Snug on the bottom, snug on the top. It's at the right angle for it, receiving the insulation. I like it. I like it. And the rest of the gaps have the same hurricane tie positioning. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Oh. 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 Yes. Well, that goes pretty fast once you get going. So we've run out of the cedar 2x6. We'll have to pick some more of that just to do the last 2 bays and do the other side over there. But that works really well, man. The more I did, the tighter it got. I still got to go in there and caulk. Such a bizarre word. And yeah, we got a little bit more cedar. I'm going to try to start sealing off these lower sections under the sill plate, or the top plate, I guess it's called. There's something running around back here. I don't know if you guys can hear. I don't know if that's the rabbit. Oh, it's a chipmunk. You know, we could start blocking off the top plate gaps from the inside, but what I'm thinking is block it off from the outside, and then I'm going to I got loose sheep's wool insulation. I'll fill the gap on the inside with the insulation, and then put a block over to block it in that way. Guys, the anchor is acting weird again. Like it wasn't charging today. It stopped outputting power. You know, it was about 80 degrees, close to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but you hear it's making this clicking sound? My goodness. It's a little hard to see the river in the summer because the water level is down. It's right there. You can see the bank on the other side. In the winter, there's no problem because the water's so high. But also some strategic trimming of the bushes along the river and a few of these branches off this birch tree, and you should be able to see it year round. But by golly, man, that ridge line, the colors. There we go.
This week on Wild Homestead, we trimmed and weather sealed the south window, leaving the scribed end caps for the spring once the cabin has finished most of its settling. We trimmed and weather sealed the west loft window, and the exterior of the door is now ready for winter. We finished the weather seal gasket on the doorstop, We caulked and covered the seams of the 2x8s with 1x lumber trim. We trimmed and weather sealed the door window, weather sealed the exterior edges of the door, and installed a rubber door sweep on the base. We caught and ate our very first brook trout from the very river that flows through our property, and it was far and away the most delicious fish we've eaten yet. We saw our first beaver in the river and found a sweet beaver skull, which I hope to boil and mount over the entrance to the cabin. We got almost half the roof rafter gaps sealed with cedar chunks and plates, and to be finished off and caulked next week. We made the west gable wall iron robust with dozens of metal roofing brackets connecting the logs to the gable rafters. We did ATV road engineering, flattening or smoothing the 5 most dangerous spots with the lumber, fill, and grade A gravel so that we could transport in the 250-pound U.S. Stove Company wood stove to the build site. What will happen next week on Wild Homestead, only the gods know, but winter is coming. And much like the character Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, we'll need some serious ooga booga energy to get us ready. Thanks for watching, and may the gods bless you and your families, both the old gods and the new. Strength and honor to you all.